addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour as addictive, work, relationships, collecting, materialism, always wanting to be as best I could, trying to be perfect, and never so. But it drove me bonkers, because I thought I ought to try and strive to be the very best I could be, which in the olden days was to be perfect. But there's nothing wrong with striving to be the best we can be. It's a question of balance in all things, emotional, spiritual and physical. And I've had some interesting times this last week or so, finding out some new information about me and my physical problems, notwithstanding having broken my foot. And I've just come back from hospital to find out that I've got at least 4 fractures in a metatarsal, and it needs to be rested very carefully over the next 4 months. Normally it's a few weeks, but 4 months of being very, very careful. I'll explain more in a moment. But recovery for me, one day at a time, being sober to experience life as it is. So whether you have a broken foot or just simply are having a difficult day, sober, it's better, because we're dealing with it in the moment of now, dealing with life as it is, rather than wishing life differently, or trying to, I suppose, aspire to some sort of perfect state we can never achieve. And the other thing around trying to achieve a perfect state is we have high expectations of others which cannot be met. So if we expect the best of ourselves, often others can let us down, not knowing they're letting us down, because our standards are way beyond anything either we or they can achieve. So what keeps me sober these days? Well, family, friends, community, and a fellowship, and that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And a fellowship, well, it's something integral in my life. It's woven into the fabric of living my life today. So the gift in all of this, for me, is when things go wrong, I can rely on emotional, spiritual support from not only family and friends and community, and professionals in this case with my foot. I can also rely on the support of friends in fellowship, and we learn to understand what it means to be a friend. To be a friend is to be supportive emotionally and spiritually. Emotionally means not telling lies and it's going to be okay. It's about, well, what have you got to face today then? And, you know, realistically, what can you do? What can't you do and what can you do? It's dealing with knowing some things are impossible and we're powerless over them, and knowing that some things are possible. So reflections from others help us, and fellowship is about sobriety. Family community is about being a part of life. That bridge to normal living? Well, normal living, whatever it is astounding, even if you have maladies or things go wrong. So, what is AA and how does it help me? I share the AA preamble or statement of intent here, and I also share a reading or two, or some quotes which I find helpful. So, first of all, the AA preamble and statement of intent. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And key in there always for me is the only reason for going to AA is a desire to stop drinking. It's not a fanatical thing, it's just a desire. And that's the only rule, if you like. It's not even a rule, it's just a desire to stop. And that's hard enough, because drink tells us we need it. And addiction tells us we need to keep on going, because life is so unpleasant without the fix of a drug, alcohol in my case, or the fix of work, the fix of a relationship, the fix of the next right thing to buy. It's all about fixing, and then in recovery it's all about not fixing and just living the experience of what we are, and who we are today. Marvellous. And pain withstanding, it's great to be here. This book, Daily Reflections, is all about the 12 steps of AA, 12 steps to change our attitude and behaviour on a daily basis to what is going on around us. And I posted on my Facebook that I was taking it easy yesterday, and it's funny because today's meeting is all about that, and I'll just find it. These 12 steps are covered one a month in the Daily Reflections, and they're really helpful. And step 3 for March being the 3rd month, reads, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. And you know, it's your own personal God, or understanding of God, which is so important. There are 6.5 billion people on the planet, each with an understanding of God. There is one, there isn't one, or they're not sure. But it's what is working in your life which counts. So if there's a higher power, and in my case it's the hospital, and for me God is truth, love, and God works through people. If I can listen to others, I've got a fighting chance, or even better, just a living chance. I don't have to fight anymore. Just a living chance that today can work out okay. And it says here for March 5th, a lifelong task. But how? In these circumstances, does a fellow take it easy? That's what I want to know. And this is me yesterday, taking it easy. I was never known for my patience. How many times have I asked, why should I wait? When can I have it? When can I have it all right now? Yes, when can I have it all right now? Or why can't I have it all right now? Indeed, when I was first presented the 12 steps, I was like the proverbial kid in the candy store. I couldn't wait to get to step 12. It was surely just a few months' work. Or so I thought. I realise now that living the 12 steps of AA is a lifelong undertaking. And you know, the gift in that for me is that if it's a lifelong undertaking, the more I preserve my life and keep on going, the better it is. Accepting what I can and cannot do on a daily basis. And the news from the consultant at the hospital is, because I have type 1 diabetes and they don't want to do an operation to put the bones back together because it's dangerous, 4 months rather than a few weeks, 4 months of wearing a boot and not putting pressure on the front of my foot where the brakes are. And I broke some toes last year and soldiered on, and I also had very bad back pain last year, and that turns out to be connected with neuropathy. So now I have an MRI scan to have in a few weeks' time. So the gift in all of this is I'm learning more about my physiology today and what I may and may not do, and I have to take it easy. So there you go. I'm learning and I'm listening to what people tell me. Not always easy, because we want to be okay and we don't want to look weak in the eyes of other people. But the true strength is vulnerability expressed. Means that nobody can harm us for it, and our friends will rally round, and those who are not friends will ignore it. So there is one quote I used today which is quite important to me. And I've added, we live, we grow, we learn, we change, we get new choices. And Jack Irons, who is now in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, said, I could not finish the rest of the tours the band had planned. I was replaced by Matt Cameron. The next few years of my life were about recovery, healing and right living. I never lost the need to create. And I put at the end of that, who knows what today will bring. Well, for me, it brought good news that I know what my situation is. And the gift in all of this is I can be me. And I'm tired out, but that's okay. It's not surprising, really. Anyway, the serenity prayer to God or good conscience, your higher power as you understand it, your understanding, not mine, so important. God, or to good conscience, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is just for today. Don in London, hello. My videos all about recovery from either addiction to substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour, trying to be perfect for those 35 years and not succeeding in any shape or form. And just generally these days I try to stay sober one day at a time. And what helps me most is the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And we share a preamble at the beginning of every meeting, and I share it here so I slow down into this one moment of now, so I can collect my thoughts and share a few things about experience, strength and hope. So this is the preamble shared at every meeting of AA. I don't speak for AA, I just speak for me. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes, and it certainly doesn't have anything to do with these videos. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So, in that last sentence, our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. I guess this is just me and my journey of experience, strength and hope. And it's evening time, and I've been to a meeting of AA this evening and heard somebody speak about their experience, strength and hope. I cannot share what they said, but I can share how it made me feel, and it made me feel good to be alive, and in this one day, that life is much better without drink for us who cannot stop once we've started. And often it is said that one drink will never be enough, and 1,000 won't do either. So where did it all go wrong for me? Well, I don't know that it went wrong. I spent 35 years probably battling with something I didn't really understand. I had to find out what it was that was wrong to start with, and denial so strong in me and my outlook, I never realised that drink was a major influence in everything I did. So these days, not drinking is a bit strange, and it goes against the grain. For anybody who is in the, I suppose, in the malady or the allergy of alcoholism, the daily reprieve and not drinking one day at a time is quite a remarkable feat, and it has nothing to do with me on my own, but it has a lot to do with me being included in society, in a fellowship, and just trying to get along one day at a time. And I've probably said one day at a time too many times, but I can't emphasise enough just how important that is. In the fellowship there are 12 steps of action, and no steps, no action means no real sobriety. So these action steps are there to help me rub along and make my life work. And in this book, Daily Reflections, one step per month is covered. And it can seem a bit oblique, but just to remind me and you, January was all about, in my videos, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Then in February came to believe that a power greater than me, or ourselves, could restore us to sanity. And then step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. And as it says there, as we understood Him, doesn't mean everybody thinks or feels the same way about God. It's our own personal understanding of how God is or is not in our lives, and whether we have a higher power or not. I guess what I've learned is not being God is great, because it means I'm not in charge. I'm not the chief critic, and I'm not trying to control anything, simply to make my choices in the day. And for March the 5th, this video will be out there for March 5th. It says this: a lifelong task. But just how, in these circumstances, does a fellow take it easy? That's what I want to know. I was never known for my patience. How many times have I asked, why should I wait when I can have it all right now? Indeed, when I was first presented to the 12 steps, I was like a proverbial kid in a candy store. I couldn't wait to get to step 12. It was surely just a few months' work, or so I thought. I realise now that living the 12 steps of AA is a lifelong undertaking, and it sounds arduous, but you know, life is difficult and hard work, and it will always be that way. But if we have a set of steps which helps us and makes us able to deal with life on life's terms, the reality of now, it's not just about how I see the world, it's about how the world really is, and how I behave in the world. And I think I'm trying to behave better a day at a time. In this book, as Bill sees it, it's not actually in the order of the 12 steps, but on page 45, Our Companions, Today, the vast majority of us welcome any new light that can be thrown on the alcoholic's mysterious and baffling malady. We welcome new and valuable knowledge where it issues from a test tube, from a psychiatrist's couch, or from revealing social studies. We are glad of any kind of education that accurately informs the public and changes its age-old attitude toward the drug. More and more we regard all who labour in the total field of alcoholism as our companions on a march from darkness into light. We can see that we can accomplish together what we could never accomplish in separation and in rivalry. And you know what? People aren't that competitive in AA. There is no competition to try and be the best recovering alcoholic in the world. There ain't no such animal. Because we're all impacted by things on a daily basis which either make life work or make life very difficult. And in the 12 by 12 little 12 Steps and 12 Traditions handbook, which I like because it just summarises everything very neatly, the first paragraph of Step 3 reads, "Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him." I emphasise again, it's your understanding, not mine, which is important. It says here, practicing Step 3 is like opening a door which to all appearances is still closed and locked. All we need is a key and the decision to swing the door open. There is only one key and it's called willingness. Once unlocked by willingness, the door opens almost of itself, and looking through it, we shall see a pathway beside which is an inscription. It reads, "This is the way to a faith that works." In the first 2 steps we were engaged in reflection. We saw that we were powerless over alcohol, but we also perceived that faith of some kind, if only in AA itself, is possible for anyone. These conclusions did not require action, they required only acceptance. And it goes on to say, like all the remaining steps, Step 3 calls for affirmative action, for it is only by action that we can cut away the self-will, which has always blocked the entry of God, or, if you like, a higher power, into our lives. Faith, to be sure, is necessary, but a faith alone can avail nothing. We can have faith, yet keep God out of our lives. Therefore, the problem now becomes just how and by what specific means shall we be able to let Him in? Step 3 represents our first attempt to do this. In fact, the effectiveness of the whole AA program will rest upon how well and earnestly we have tried to come to a decision to turn our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. So that's of critical importance to me, because before I got to AA, I had no conscious contact with anything but my own inner workings of my head, and I'd long lost the plot of how to stop drinking, how to make life work, and I'd found myself homeless for several years and ended up in extraordinarily difficult times. And it was many occasions that death was quite close, and the last rites were offered to me, and I told the person concerned to F off in no uncertain manner, and he said, "Don't be so fussy." And you know, that's where it took me. It took me to that rock bottom, and more, and still judging people as I was sitting in the gutter, looking up at people and seeing them as the problem and not me. So what have I learned, really, over the last few years? Inclusion in fellowship, inclusion in society, trying to do the best I can with what I have. Having lived long enough to have other major illnesses, I don't mind the fact I've lived longer, or that I've got them. It would have been better without, I'm sure, but I need live with what is reality, just for today. So, what makes it all possible is acceptance, and in that serenity prayer. Serenity does not mean it's all jolly and wonderful, all joyous and free. It means life happens. So God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Hello, Don in London. It's March the 5th, and I'll be doing the AA daily readings for March 6th very shortly. AA, all about AA.
Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that's what the fellowship is there to do. And I don't speak for the fellowship, I just speak for me. And I need to make that clear every time I do these videos, or people in AA will say, stop representing us. And the answer is, I don't. I represent me and my outlook and what's going on for me in my life. And I go to AA meetings at least once a day, if at all possible. And being Wednesday for me, it was a lunchtime meeting at Eaton Square. And then tonight it was Fulham Broadway in the Methodist Church basement, which is adjacent to the Chelsea football stadium. So I went through many, many thousands of Chelsea fans and whoever they are playing tonight. I gather it's an important match, but I don't know who they're playing. And that's not me being disinterested, really. It's just not my thing, football. But it doesn't hinder me getting to a meeting. And it's really rather exciting being out and about in a place where there are lots and lots of people and big horses with big policemen on them. So it's just part of life around here. And it's a hazard riding my bicycle around these events, I have to say. So there we go. But Eaton Square this lunchtime was all about AA, and particularly telling the truth to ourselves, of all people. And, you know, I don't know what it is when we're out there drinking, but ego seems to come to the fore. Fear of life and what life is like seems to come to the fore. And putting on a brave face. And many of us in drinking times probably put on a persona, a way of looking, that brave face, which was not really ourselves, but what we thought the world could see of us, and what the world could find acceptable. And I guess as time has gone by in the fellowship, my level of acceptance of me, and that I am still just a profoundly ordinary human being, just making my way one day at a time, has given me a lot of peace of mind. It's okay to be profoundly ordinary, and that often means that we are unique and authentic people, and we are better off displaying who we are and what we are when we have the confidence. And really, for me, AA is the source of my inspiration, faith, courage and confidence to be me, just to find out who I am on a daily basis. And, you know, it's very easy to get lost in this world and believe we need to exaggerate ourselves in some way so we are profoundly interesting to other people. And what it means is we probably have been taught a way of living which is profoundly in denial, profoundly about telling lies, and profoundly about not really understanding what life is about at all. We pretend so often that life is okay when it's not, and we pretend that we want everything that everybody else has got, and we possibly don't want everything that everybody else has got. We'd just like to be able to experience life in the way nature intended, I suspect, but we get bent out of shape very easily. Anyway, these videos, they're really about the daily readings for the next day, and also me relating what I know of them and how it's impacted on me. So I'm going to start with the daily reflections, written by AA people for AA people. And it's March 6th, it says the idea of faith. Do not let any prejudice you may have against spiritual terms deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you. And that comes from AA's big book, page 47. So really it's saying, what is it, spiritual? The idea of faith is a very large chunk to swallow when fear, doubt and anger abound in and around me. Sometimes just the idea of doing something different, something I am not accustomed to doing, can eventually become an act of faith if I do it regularly, and do it without debating whether it's the right thing to do. When a bad day comes along and everything is going wrong, a meeting or a talk with another drunk often distracts me just enough to persuade me that everything is not quite as impossible or overwhelming as I thought. In the same way, going to a meeting or talking to a fellow alcoholic are acts of faith. I believe I am arresting my disease. There are ways I slowly move towards faith in a higher power. And my higher power is truth, the absolute truth, not my version. The truth I come to know on a daily basis of what is real and what is not real, what is an exaggeration and what is simply truth. I suppose these are around the 6th and 7th steps, really. But, we'll go on. I'll talk about that another day, maybe. As Bill sees it, page 93, atmosphere of grace. Those of us who have come to make regular use of prayer would no more do without it than we would refuse air, food or sunshine. And for some reason, when we refuse air, light or food, the body suffers, and when we turn away from meditation and prayer, we likewise deprive our minds, our emotions and our intuitions of vitally needed support. That's more to do with step 12. As the body can fail in its purpose for lack of nourishment, so can the soul. We all need the light of God's reality, the nourishment of His strength, and the atmosphere of His grace. To an amazing extent, the facts of AA life confirm this ageless truth. And, as I say, God is truth. This is me in my version. That fits very nicely, because if I am reflecting towards truth, and meditating and reflecting about the absolute truth, not my self-will or self-obsession, then I'm probably on the right path. Then going on to the 24-hour day book, which I keep on having little time, but I have the time tonight. For March 6th, in AA we must surrender, give up, admit, and that we're helpless. We surrender our lives to God and ask Him to help. When He knows that we're ready, He gives us, by His grace, the free gift of sobriety, and we can't take any credit for having stopped drinking, because we didn't do it by our own willpower. There's no place for pride or boasting. We can only be grateful to God for doing for us what we could never do for ourselves. Do I believe that God has made me a free gift of the strength to stay sober? In truth, absolute truth, I agree. But by coming into the fellowship, I've learned how to use the toolkit of the AA steps, the 12 steps, which are, if we look at them very briefly, the first one is admitting I'm powerless over alcohol and life is unmanageable when I drink. That a higher power can restore me to sanity, and it's not a Harley Davidson, although I'm sure for some people Harley Davidson would be their higher power. And that came to believe that a power greater than me could keep me on the right path. I've already said that. Look at my crib sheet. Where am I? Harley Davidson's. Yeah, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. So for me that is very simple truth. Then 4 is the moral inventory, the good and the bad of us over the years. And then 5 is telling another human being about it. And then 6 simply is looking at the defects of character, all the things I do too much of which are bad for me. And then step 7 is the shortcomings, not doing enough of the right thing, which often is courage, faith and confidence. And then 8 is making a list of people I need make amends to, and be willing to make those amends. And then 9 is making amends to those people without doing any harm, so some cannot be done. And it's not about me putting the record straight. It's about humbly making the amends which are possible to make, and not to seek forgiveness even, really, but to understand what is. Then 10 is doing a personal inventory on a daily basis, just simply what is the balance sheet today to the good or the ill of me. And then 11 is prayer and meditation, so that we understand our conscious contact with our faith, our higher power. And then 12 is really about sharing the message with other people, which is where I am with these videos. So, you know, the whole program just fit into a few moments' time to reflect upon, but it's taken me a long, long time to know pretty much the insides and outsides of the books and getting my life back on track one day at a time. So I'm okay today. I feel okay. A hypo this morning, but life is okay.